My name is Nadia, and I'm a student representative of Birbeck Stop the War Coalition Society. And as an organisation, we effectively campaign against drone strikes in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, and other countries. And Hassan Niazi is the founder of INSAF, which is the student branch of PTI, and he is currently undertaking LLM at City University. Hassan is also the nephew of the prominent Pakistani politician Imran Khan, and thanks for joining me, Hassan. My first question then is, what activism have you been involved in? What is INSAF, and how many members are there?
INSAF Student Federation was founded in late 2007, and basically there was a huge majority of youth which wanted to be part of PTI, but obviously for them to get accommodated was very difficult. Obviously in a party where the people running the forums, the different offices were 40 plus, so for them to come up in the party was very difficult. So and obviously without much of an experience and at such an early age, it's not even logical for that to happen. So for that purpose, PTI founded INSAF Students Federation, and because I was part of PTI, and not because I was, I wouldn't say I was really good in politics, I was also learning. So at that time, PTI wasn't that popular, and we didn't even have much choice of selecting people. So initially, although they insisted on me becoming an office bearer for the INSAF Student Federation, I did not really want to, because I did not have much experience and had little idea, because this was the first time ever I was joining any platform. So then we founded INSAF Students Federation, and later that year, because we didn't have competent people around, I ended up becoming the president. So then we made objectives, and the constitution, which is still in progress because it's a quite difficult job, because obviously we have to accommodate all the 5 provinces of Pakistan, including Kashmir. So the purpose, basic fundamental, is to fight for the Islamic welfare, struggle for the Islamic welfare state, and follow the ideology of Iqbal and Qaid-e-Azam. And then according to the universities, the objectives do vary, but fundamentally it's for the rights of the students and also the human rights as well.
Oh, brilliant.
So it depends on the issue which is coming. So for instance, we have struggled the few prominent issues we basically did some struggle for during my time in Pakistan as a president. Issues of Raymond Davis, like Blackwater issue, then the issue of Dr. Afia, then blasphemy against our Prophet, peace be upon him, when the cartoons were published. And there are many issues. Then these are the national issues, but then the issues vary from universities to universities. For instance, the fee rise, these are all those issues which ISF is supposed to highlight, and which it does. And right now ISF is one of the most strongest student federations in Pakistan, and one of the most popular ones, where all the classes from upper class, the students which get to go to the private schools, to the students who go to public school, all are accommodated in it. And you talked about membership. The memberships is in thousands, but the more important thing is, does it exist in every college and university? And that's the big question, and that's the strength of ISF, that it does in every city, every college, and every university.
Okay, brilliant, thanks a lot. And my next question is, who is the TTP, and basically why do you think that the Pakistani authorities are so reluctant to exercise their rich strength in justifying instances where lives of Pakistanis are at stake?
TTP, basically, this is the so-called Taliban group in Pakistan. Basically, what people fail to understand is, when in 2004 army was being sent to Waziristan on the pressure of America, there was this Taliban Afghanistan representation in Waziristan. Actually, it has influence in all the agencies, but more influence was on the north and south Waziristan. So in North Waziristan, the Taliban commander of Afghanistan, who basically they for in Taliban terms was the governor for them over there. He was the pinpoint person whom one would talk to if there was any issue. Since on the other side, the Taliban were very strong after the Russian war ended. So Naik Muhammad initially was the person who anyone from Pakistan would talk to regarding Waziristan. What happened was there were continuous dialogues. Pakistan, what we need to understand is this is not a religious but a political issues and a political war taking place over there. So I'll talk about what the political issues were. The Pakistan's first demand was to expel the foreign element, which according to the ex-president of Pakistan were like more around 100 to 200 Uzbeks and Chechens and Afghans. So to expel them. So after dialogue, I think it was late 2005, a successful dialogue started in late 2005, but continued till 2006 took place, in which they were successful. But what happened was, after the successful dialogues, the night of those dialogues, Naik Muhammad, when he went back home, because everything was now peaceful, there was an airstrike at his home and he died. And from that day till this day, Taliban groups kept on adding. So you call them Taliban, you call them any group, you can name it. Now there are so many. It's a more of a horizontal, in Pakistan they believe it's a more of an horizontal structure but not any vertical structure. So even you call TTP is just one of, you can say, prominent ones who gets more highlighted by the media or anyone, because the recent few blasts, the very tragic ones, the one on the Christians and the general, were not done by Taliban. That shows how powerful the other groups are as well. So TTP or any other group, these are those people who came into existence once the Pakistanis and the American establishment killed the local leadership in the Waziristan. Basically, local leadership in Waziristan were more of those Maliks and the scholars around there who had more influence on the local people. These were the locals whom everyone would listen. They would head the jirgas. When you killed those, there was no authority left over there. So now the people saying who the government should be talking to, they're absolutely right, because now there is no one authority. However, the solution again is dialogue, because for the last 9 years we've been bombing these people in Waziristan. There's been various incidents. The the worst part was the army kept on saying they were doing the airstrikes, which later through WikiLeaks as well as through later US official statements it was revealed that those were not just the Pakistani Air Forces doing airstrike, those were the drones attack. So the point is, the first drone strike, which was on Naik Muhammad's house, then to the one which killed 60 to 70 children in a madrasa, giving a clear-cut message that it's a war. So now it was a war between the locals and the Americans. And for now, how locals take revenge from Americans, that's another big problem. They basically, whoever allies with America or their agenda, they consider him as American as any other person, as any other, someone from, you can say, with American nationality. So for them it's a war against America right now. And TTP is just one.
Strikes? Is that because of the drone strikes?
It's not just because of drone strikes. It's also because of our army being part of this whole American plan.
Okay, and also I just picked up, you said that the recent attacks, the tragic attacks that occurred, you're saying that it wasn't TTP because they're not claiming responsibility. Who could it be then?
It's a group called Janjola or something like that, but the point is something else. There are like 26 to 32 groups right now, official government statements. In Pakistan, if you want to solve the issue, it's not about TTP, because now you have to handle, every area has a different group. I went to Khyber Agency recently, like a year ago. Over there was another group, and the guy leading a group used to be a bus conductor. He had no qualification, no nothing. So basically what happened was, when you killed their elders in Waziristan, either they started leaving, because these people were not any, like, you didn't expect them to fight back. Their strength was the respect in the society. So when the bombs were landing, they had to leave the places, or either they got killed.
Again, are you making reference to i.e. bombs, meaning drone strikes, yeah?
Not just drone strikes, even the army operations. Army in Pakistan has done in these agencies quite few operations in last 9 years. It's not just been drone. It's basically they've been attacked on the ground as well through the airstrikes.
Okay, and so essentially you're commenting on the fact that TTP isn't a holistic body. It comprises of something like 100 factions. This new group that you're talking about, are you saying essentially that sure, they're not necessarily TTP, but do they have sort of, similar ideology, and that they sort of come under the branch or the umbrella term TTP?
TTP, again, although people use the term Taliban, now one has to differentiate between the Afghan Taliban, who are fighting for the liberation in Afghanistan, who have a different, for them you can call it an ideological war, but in Pakistan it's basically a political war on this land. Basically, they're obvious. Now you have to see what the demands are. In 2007, Pakistan National Security Council under Musharraf and all the security agencies and the political heads made a 7-point agenda. All 7 points were political. How they will send the army, what they expect, how the foreign elements need to be sent away, how the weapon they need to de-weaponize. So these were all political. There was nothing religious in this. Now, the counter demands right now, even till this date, are all political. They want the 3 basic things which they'll expect from the Pakistani government is stop the drones, political, army withdrawal, political, and the same old FCR system which Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah actually signed with them, another political demand. So technically their demands will be all political, it's obvious.
And do you think that there is a link between, although perhaps you've touched on this, but is there a link between the rise in militancy and drone strikes?
Yes, it's not just, again, the drone strike. Okay. Drone strikes just added to it. You know what happened basically? Drone strikes made the popular sentiment go with these. They had to be part. And if you want to live there, you have to be part of someone. You can't be a neutral in a war zone. It's a civil. People believe it's a civil war which is happening over there. So when there is a civil war happening, you have to take sides. You have to support. You can't be a neutral, because being a neutral, you'll end up, because obviously someone will approach you.
Are you talking about Waziristan?
Waziristan, yeah, it's in the whole this area, this belt.
Who are the parties opposing each other? If you could just elaborate on that.
Basically, in Waziristan, obviously there's an army. Now you have to understand, there's an army which came there in 2004, violating the sanctity of their homes. You know, they believe an army of an intruder is inside the home. Till that point, still there wasn't the popular sentiment, was still confused, because again the army was a Pakistani army.
Why is the army there?
Because again, now that's, and I'll go to this question because that's the part we need to understand, why the army had to go there. So what happened was, now the army is over there. Those people have never accepted any outsider. By outsider, it's also the Balochis, Punjabis, or anyone. It's their home. You know, that's the one border Pakistan can never ever make a fence, because even on the other side people won't accept, on this side as well. But these people owned Pakistan, as the history tells us, how they went in Azad and got us Azad Kashmir. Now, these people, when the army was there, then there were these airstrikes happening. Later, it was revealed those airstrikes were drones by the Americans. So it's obvious. On one side, they would go, they would face the army. From on the other side of the borders, it was America, and on top, they had these drones. So this is where they realized, and local had to make the decision. Anyone would, obviously the army, if it's an American drone, either army stops because America is violating the sovereignty of Pakistan. When America is not stopping, when it is being, it's a strong belief now of everyone that there is a consent to Americans by the Musharraf or Zardari, God knows who. When there is this belief, obviously the locals had to come join any side. So when the army is with, when it's obvious the army is with the American, then locals would have obviously joined the TTP or whatever group is strong in their area. That's how they had to. Then these were this is the popular one. Then there were the victims who in vengeance started joining. And this is how these groups got stronger every day.
And can you just comment on what are the official reasons given by Obama for drone strikes in Pakistan anyway?
Before that, you asked why the army was, I think, over there.
Right, yeah.
That's very important for us to know. Remember that Waziristan borders with Afghanistan, and there's a South Afghanistan, which is a stronghold of Afghan Taliban. And till this date, it's a fact US never was able to take over that part. So the more control of US is around the Kabul, the North Afghanistan, with Northern Alliance is strong, and around the Kabul region. So then there's this border of Waziristan, from where people in past it was seen during the Soviet war, people would go attack then come back, go attack then come back. Basically, Afghan Taliban had the support. So to engage these people, American forced us to send the army. So they get engaged, and then there's a civil war happening, so they don't get chance to even look on the other side of the border.
Was this during Musharraf's reign?
Yes, in 2004 the army was sent.
Okay.
So basically, sending an army, even the army wouldn't accept the fact they were going over there. They were like, we are going to a certain area. Then slowly and steadily they started penetrating. First they wouldn't say that they would do an operation. Then they did one operation, second, third, fourth. This is how one by one they, except for North Waziristan, the army has done operation in every part of Pakistan. Every agencies, all the tribal belt. So this is why the army went there. Now moving to the question, what Obama administration, it's obvious in his first election campaign he declared Waziristan as the world's most unsafe place, and obviously a heaven to the terrorists. If someone is saying something about Waziristan who has this opinion, then it's obvious it's obvious we should expect him to do drones if he's saying something like that. It's
because of the link between Afghanistan and Waziristan.
Again, it's obvious if army wasn't engaged with them, these people, because these are the Pakhtuns who have their relatives on the other side as well. Like for instance, I'm a Niazi. Now I have, if I start looking at my ancestors, they were from Afghanistan. If someone attacks my original village which is in Afghanistan, obviously I'll feel for it. It's obvious, it's my home as well. So on the other side, they have these relatives you're attacking, and plus it's in Afghanistan, it's a belief fighting against US is a jihad, and being a Muslim, our jihad is our weakness. A Muslim, we need to realize, he believes defending your home is something which is obligation. It's not like a choice. It's not like you need to have your own thought on it. You can it's an option. It's an obligation.
You're making although I'm interpreting it, but are you making a direct link between TTP and Afghan Taliban, the Pakistani Taliban and Afghan Taliban? And also, from my sort of, when I looked into this, I got the impression that TTP was funded by foreign countries and
it's all very simple if you see. First, coming back to the TTP and Taliban, remember in 2007, I'm assuming, or 8, on a Eid khutbah, Mullah Omar clearly disowned TTP, and he also he disowned TTP. And
is this the leader of the Afghan Taliban?
Yeah, Afghan Taliban, the Amir of Afghan Taliban. And the second thing is, remember, the Afghan Taliban do not believe in attacking the innocent. So you cannot link them with TTP. They have a bigger cause of liberating Afghanistan from an invader. While even by the way, the point we miss is, remember, the Taliban are not declared terrorists by Americans or anywhere on any international forum, but the TTP is. So you cannot equate both of them, and yet there's no link between them. But I'm talking about this popular sentiment. Waziristan is not TTP. TTP is a small group. Waziristan comprised of 3 to 4 million people. I'm talking about the north and south. So from which right now they say 2 million are displaced. So I'm talking about that popular sentiment right now that will obviously favor the liberation of Afghanistan, which we saw in the past as well.
Interesting.
And I think there was another question of yours.
So the link between the foreign funding.
Yeah, and the foreign funding. It's obvious. It's not like something unusual. Pakistan agencies and our neighbor Indian RAW. It's obvious they have been accusing each other for this. So in Pakistan, whenever, even during the Sikh fighting for the liberation, Sikh people fighting for the liberation in India, ISI backed them. It's a fact. In Kashmir, when these Mujahideens were fighting in Kashmir, ISI backed them. So it's obvious. It's not something unusual. These groups will be backed by all the enemies of Pakistan. Because if they are creating instability in Pakistan, it's obvious. And then again, where are they getting all these resources from? How do they manage all this?
Also, I just want you to comment on... Just a moment. Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about a little bit about the lessons Pakistan can learn from the 12 years of military occupation. Military operations in Afghanistan. What lessons can Pakistan learn?
The lessons. It's obvious that operations are not a solution, and it's not my view. All the political parties of the Pakistan, all the major political party heads, with the army, with the government, with the ISI, the security agencies, sat together recently, a few weeks ago. They passed a clear-cut resolution. We need to do dialogue, because it's been a fact that military operation in Pakistan in last 9 years has never been successful.
Okay, and so how can the Pakistani government bring an end to unmanned aerial strikes?
It's basically...
How can they go about it?
It's very easy. People in Pakistan say there's this political debate that if we attack, if we stop drones by force, America will react to it. But then again, there's this strong opinion in America, which we saw in WikiLeaks as well, that these drones are happening with the permission. So if we do not give the permission, they won't happen. Obviously, America is the American administration has sane people. They're not against. I'm assuming they're not against humanity. So if we tell them, explain them that these drones are causing causing increase in militancy, terrorism, then obviously the America will respond to it. And the problem is, our government doesn't do anything, doesn't take these issues. Recently, Nawashi went to UN General Assembly. He had this, he could have taken this, highlighted this issue, which he was supposed to as per the resolution in APC, but he never did. And then even in a one-on-one meeting with Obama, even a phone call, even if our foreign minister goes meet the American secretary, if we explain them that these drones are doing harm to America as well as Pakistan, because obviously they are creating an anti-American sentiment. So if we explain them these things, everyone in the world will understand. And this is why there's an increase in activism against drones.
Interesting. And also, you have spoke about the dialogue, but I want you to comment more specifically on, how do you propose talking to an entity that speaks through the tongue of death, destruction and chaos? Okay, sure, it's debatable whether they were responsible for the recent attacks or not, okay? But I think that they have claimed, up to 40,000 Pakistani lives, and they are a dangerous entity.
What you're saying is, it's not just about even the recent attacks. These are all, I equate them equally, these all people. Not that if they have not done now, but they have done previously. So you have, again, we equate them equally, but how do we handle them? Again, these people who are doing this, unfortunately, are from Pakistan. They are not some foreigners like you can send them away. They have to live here. You can't send them anywhere. So how will you, how do you stop them? Right now, there's only one solution. Because either you do an operation, either you dialogue. If there's a third option, people should bring it forward. Because we've used the option of operation again and again. And there's been a strong reaction to it.
You're talking about military operations.
Yes, military operations.
And using force. So now you're saying that you're proposing something, dialogue is the last option, you're saying?
It is. We need to bring them to the table. We need to listen to them. Because previously, in the start, there were like 3 dialogues during the Musharraf time. And all 3 were successful and were broken by the Pakistani government or through the American drone strike. So it's a fact, like, you can do dialogue. In the end, those people are unfortunately human. So you need to go and talk.
Let's, for instance, assume that the dialogue is successful, and as a result, a compromise is reached by the state. What will the compromise entail?
This is something which no one can, to be honest. It's like predicting the future. Obviously, for instance, in the case of Pakistan, India, whenever we sit with India, Pakistan starts with the 1948 Kashmir resolution, and then the India talks about how they should be given the Kashmir part. So again, you come up somewhere in between. It can't be like we end up doing what Indians are saying or what Pakistan demand is. You can't be at the tangent and expect for a compromise to happen. Obviously, there should be something in between, and then again, it will be a bigger compromise from the Pakistani side, because we are technically on the back foot now.
Although we've touched on this as well, but I think if you can be a little bit more sort of precise, are the drone strikes conducted in Pakistan with the approval of the current or past government? So I'm referring to, was it at the approval of Zardari or Nawaz? Do you think he's been complicit? And if so, can the Pakistani government bring an end? So whose approval are the strikes going on? Because they're clearly breaking Pakistani sovereignty.
I totally believe America would not do such strikes without the permission of Pakistan, because obviously there are some international norms and international law which would stop any foreign country from going against the sovereignty of any nation. So I believe it's not possible. And yes, obviously it's either Musharraf or Zardari, because during their time, in Musharraf's time, the drone strike started, and in Zardari's era, they hit the peak. So it's not possible. They're happening without. Plus, the American government officials have said they're not happening without the approval.
Okay, so do you think Zardari was complicit? Do you think Nawaz is being complicit? Was Zardari in the past complicit? Do you know?
Zardari, obviously, because it's obviously there are some things which need to be revealed. Who made the deal? Was it Musharraf? Was it Zardari?
I think Musharraf admitted that he allowed strikes.
Yes.
He did allow the strikes.
So if whoever made, but the thing is, it doesn't matter who allowed.
Is the army a stronger entity than the government?
But sorry.
Is the army a stronger entity than the government?
It's a fact in Pakistan, just like Egypt. Army is a big player, and even in the politics and whatever, even the foreign policy. But the point is that whoever did this, it's against the basic humanitarian laws of the world. Just like what Assad is doing in Egypt. If the world is raising voice against that, he's when the innocents are killed over there, it's a civil war. The world is talking about it.
Sorry, you mean Syria, yeah?
Syria. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And
so why not in Pakistan? Just because the media is not there in the Waziristan, just like the media cannot highlight exactly what is happening, how many innocents are killed. So it's unfair with the people of tribal area.
And you know, who is being killed by drone strikes anyway? Do you think that it's actually so you're saying?
It's obvious. It's all in all the reports, and it's not about just the killing. It's New York University, NYU, and Stanford University report, which clearly says how they've traumatized the whole belt when the drones are flying on your head. What do you think?
And innocent civilians are killed.
Yes, and I know personally a 17-year-old guy, Tariq. I met him, and 2 days later, when he goes back to his village, he was killed. So you can't tell me, you can't convince me he was a terrorist. He had one leg. He used to play football. He lost that leg with a drone strike. Later, he was killed by the drone strike. So you can't convince any Pakistani right now that the people being killed are the terrorists, because there have been thousands killed right now. And if they were terrorists, they would have been finished, because initially Musharraf said there were 100 to 200 people.
Can I ask, what pressure is PTI actually putting on the federal government to end the strikes? It's affecting KPK. Khan is in office in KPK. What pressure is he putting on as successful opposition?
Yes, it is putting pressure. 70% of the industry has been shut down in KPK. So KPK is facing the biggest loss since 30
So what shut down?
70% of the industry.
Oh, is that as a result of the collateral damage?
Obviously, people are unsafe. They would be leaving, because Peshawar borders with 3 agencies right now. All are like 30 minutes south, 30 minutes towards Afghanistan north. If you go, it's all tribal area, and anyone who bombs can just easily go back in the tribal area. It's just 30 minutes away. Anyone can go. It's the biggest black market. All American goods get smuggled over there. So imagine how people can come and go.
How are people making their livelihood? Because you know people from there, and I'm interested. So if there isn't any industry there because of the volatile area, what are people doing to stay alive and their livelihood? How do they go about it?
The people are living below the poverty line. It's basic. Even overall in Pakistan right now, the economy has collapsed. Dollar, pound, petrol, electricity, all the basic things they're shooting up. It's obvious. Everyone says it's a miracle how the economy is surviving, and obviously I'm assuming regarding this economy question, I'm not an expert.
What progress has KPK done? Sorry, what progress has there been in KPK since Imran Khan's, election.
Let me just finish my previous. The pressure he is putting, he's continuously emphasizing on the dialogue. Since he has no authority right now, because the dialogue authority has been given by the APC to the federal government. So Imran Khan can only put pressure verbally right now, or give ideas, as he proposed an idea of structured dialogue when he said open the office of Taliban if you want, or whoever the groups are. So that's the one of the good things he's doing. And regarding what KPK government has done, we have continuously the hospitals and different health places being open free of cost. The education is free in KPK right now. There's been the record enrollment in the education sector right now. There's been upgradation of, I was reading of around 50 to 60 middle class secondary schools and primary schools. So and then PTI is working on the police, on this meritocracy, by giving power to the bureaucracy and taking it away from the politicians who used to influence the bureaucracy in making the. And one of the positive developments was the installment of these CCTV cameras in different police stations. People will be more secured while they'll be entering the police stations now. This is another big step taken by the.
I think there's other measures like you can report incidences. So
Yeah,
like
it's
a lot
because
more,
e-system, electronic system is all going online.
Yeah.
It'll take time. It's been only a few months.
Oh yeah,
So
and
it's-
also I think it was interesting to learn about the mobile courts in an
Yeah,
area where the
mobile
rule
courts.
of law hasn't actually
That's
been
another
established.
positive. So to be honest, with the honest leader like
Do you
Imran
think that
Khan,
will resolve tribal disputes?
yes, tribal is something else. You need to keep it separate from what's happening in KPK.
But do you think it'll change the demographic in the sense that there will be some implementation of the rule of law?
You know, if there's a rule of law in certain part, obviously the neighboring area will be demanding the same thing as well. You know, when I was in a cabinet agency, there was this incident. They told me, they said there was this lady who was whose land was occupied by some guy, and she was a widow in tribal area, so no one would give her land back. So she protested in Peshawar in front of the press club, and this terrorist from this Bara area of which is suburbs of, you can say, Peshawar, the guy who has a strong terrorist group over there, he solved her issue. He gave her he solved her problem. So what these people are basically doing is also getting the support of local by solving their problems. So you see, there's a whole collapse of system in. There's actually no system in. So who's a system in these areas?
But what can Khan do to change all that?
So obviously if there was a court and everything was there, her protesting outside the Peshawar press club would have given her some result, you know.
Just lastly, I mean, this is the last question actually. I was interested. Well, I was quite worried to learn that, PTI wasn't able to prevent NATO supplies going through KPK. Can you just comment as to why that was?
A few things, to be honest.
Again, was it army entity? Army.
Listen, PTI was protesting previously as it was in opposition. Right now, they are in the government. They have different responsibilities. They can't just take these emotional steps, because if basically PTI is directly stopping American supply, and when the army and the federal government has given them the consent, so there is a different way. First, you have to go to the army and the government, put pressure on them first. Then if all your these measures have been taken, then you do something like this, because obviously it can damage our relationship with America. We wouldn't want that as well.
Excellent. Are you planning a political future in Pakistan?
I'm going into human rights for sure, but politics is obviously, you have to be in politics to work, to do something productive in human rights, especially in Pakistan.
Yeah, alright. Thanks a lot for your time and great interview. Thanks.
Thank you so much.